great start.
Can I do my intro? Oh, we need to do the music. Do the music. Do the intro. Do the intro. Hello and welcome to the Labor Jawn Historian Song Workshop, where we talk endlessly about the working class history of Philadelphia and the surrounding world. My name is Sam James.
I'm Gabe Christy.
And tonight, this is my territory. For once, the music will take the center stage.
I'm feeling very unacademic standing up.
Even in that, well, he's wearing jeans. Look at those jeans.
Yeah.
They are rolled up, though. That's pretty good, though. I like that.
I know what I'm doing.
Uh-huh. But what are we doing here, Gabe?
Okay.
What are we doing here?
We're here to both learn a little bit of music and a couple songs, and also learn a little bit about the labor history of Philadelphia and the surrounding world.
And have fun. We're going to have fun.
Yeah, and have fun. So I guess first we need to explain why the two are connected, because if you're not within the labor sphere, it might not be...
I like that, labor sphere.
Yeah, came up with that on the spot. Might not be the most obvious connection, but even going back to some of the earliest labor actions in both in the world and in Philly specifically, music and chants have been a really key part of this. So we know from the historical record that during the 1835 general strike in Philly, which was the first general strike in the United States. I should also say to those outside of the movement, a general strike is when...
Outside the labor sphere.
Outside the labor sphere is when either an entire city or like an entire industry goes on strike together. So they basically what happened in 1835 was it started over on the Schuylkill docks. Coal passers wanted the 10-hour workday, so they laid down their shovels and started marching over to what we now call Independence Hall. Then it was, I think, Congress Hall. So then as they marched through, other tradesmen saw that happening, and basically the whole city just shut down until they won the 10-hour day at the end of the strike. But we also know from the record of that strike that they were chanting and singing the entire way, marching from the Schuylkill docks all the way to Center City. And then moving up through the 19th century, especially after the Civil War, all of the great Union war songs that showed up during the Civil War got repurposed by the labor movement. Moving into the 19-teens, you had a guy named Joe Hill. It was a Swedish immigrant that came over and was a prolific writer and an organizer with the Industrial Workers of the World, spread a lot of labor music.
There's a couple songs, I think 2 or 3 songs we'll sing tonight of Joe Hill. Yeah.
And then in 1930s all the way up to today, labor and music have really been tied very closely together. And I don't know how many of you have spent any amount of time on a picket line, but good. I'm glad to see some hands up there. When you're marching in a circle for hours and hours and hours, it really, really helps a lot to get a song going or a chant going or just anything to take your mind off of the fact that you've been marching in the same circle for hours and hours and hours. So obviously we also have these handy-dandy little booklets. So we have the choruses for most of the songs tonight, not all of them, but we do hope that y'all join in. And as is explained in the beginning there, anything that is both bold and italicized, we would encourage you to join in, or you can join in the whole song.
Anything you want.
Yeah, we're here to enjoy all of this.
This is my handy-dandy notebook.
Yeah.
It's the first time I'm ever using a tablet for a show.
And you're already breaking stuff.
And I'm so worried. I'm so worried. I don't think I'd put the screensaver off. It's going to go off in the middle of the song. It's all right.
Well, that's my
I should know these songs anyway, so.
Probably.
That's just to make me seem professional.
Yeah. That's my spiel.
Oh, okay.
So,
I should have wore the lower half of your suit.
Yeah.
That's what should have happened.
Yeah, that would have looked better. We doing hard traveling?
We're doing traveling.
Okay.
Let's get to it.
The other thing I want to do tonight is every single song that we have, even some of the modern originals, has some kind of connection back to the labor movement. And we're going to start with Hard Travelin', which was written by a fellow named Woody Guthrie in the 1930s. And yeah, some of you may have heard of him. He wrote a couple songs, did a little bit of singing. So in the 30s, he was both an organizer, a singer, and an itinerant worker. And so
Alex, I'm gonna unplug that. You keep talking.
Okay. Hard Travelin really kind of encapsulates his experiences as an itinerant worker, moving from job to job all around the country. And this was actually a pretty common experience in the 30s, where a lot of the major industries were shutting down, and people needed to find a way to make ends meet. So easiest thing to do is just keep moving until you find a job. And with that, I'll let Sam take the lead here.
Is that coming through at all? All right, the chorus of this is the first thing we're gonna sing, so the song's called Hard Travelin'. Oh, I've been having some hard traveling, I thought you know. Been having some hard traveling way down the road. Oh, I've been having some hard traveling, hard rambling and hard gambling, and I've been having some hard traveling, Lord. Oh, I've been riding them flat riders, I thought you know. Been riding them flat wheelers way down the road. I've been walking blind passengers, dead enders, kicking on cinders. Been having some hard traveling, Lord. Been doing some hard rock mining, I thought you know. Been leaning on a pressure drill way down the road. Hammer flying, air hole sucking, 6 foot of motor, and I sure been a mucking there. Been having some hard traveling, Lord. And then for the chorus. Oh, I've been having some hard traveling, I thought you know. Been having some hard traveling way down the road. Oh, I've been having some hard traveling, hard traveling, hard. Having some hard traveling, Lord. Oh, I've been working that Pittsburgh steel, I thought you know. I've been dumping that red hot slag way down the road. Oh, I've been blessed, I've been fine, I've been pouring that red hot iron. Been having some hard traveling, Lord. And I've been laying in a hard rock jail, I thought you know. Been laying down 90 days way down the road. This damn old judge, and he says to me, it's 90 days for vacancy. Having some hard traveling, Lord. Oh, I've been walking on the Lincoln Highway, I thought you know. Been hitting that 66 way down the road. Headed low down where it mine, looking for a woman that's hard to find. Been having some hard traveling, Lord. Chorus again. Oh, I've been having some hard traveling, I thought you know. Been having some hard traveling way down the road. Oh, I've been having some hard traveling, hard rambling and hard gambling. Been having some hard traveling, Lord. Been having some hard traveling, Lord.
I like it.
Hey, thank you.
What was next? Probably
Paddy.
Oh, okay. Well, that was fun. So now we're gonna kind of go a little bit farther back in history. Paddy on the Railway. Actually, one of the things that I really enjoy about doing all of this research is, especially going back with the songs, is a lot of these songs have a much more complicated history than we initially think. So the next song, Paddy on the Railway, the first references we have to it are from the 1850s. Then we have it, I believe we have sheet music for it by the 1860s. It shows up as a sea shanty around the 1860s, but it never got recorded until 1941, when Alan Lomax was doing recordings for the, not the Musicological Project, I can't remember. It was a folk song project going around the country in the 30s and 40s, basically collecting all of the folk stories, songs, and histories from around the whole country. But the song is about an Irish immigrant worker on the railways in the United States. And especially by the mid to late 19th century, the rail workers' unions were some of the most powerful in the country. Today, we tend not to think about how important rail is. It is still very, very important, and the 4 major railroads not negotiating with the Rail Workers United right now is probably going to lead to a strike in at least the next 5 years or so, if they can't come to a good negotiated peace there. But one of the, basically the closest the United States ever came to an actual, like, workers' revolution was in 1877 with the Great Railroad Strike, which started down outside of Baltimore, down in, I think, Wheeling, West Virginia, on the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. But it very quickly spread around the whole country, and actually up in Reading, Pennsylvania, the workers there went on strike, and that led to what was known as the Reading Massacre. Basically, in that strike, there were a number of riots. Workers actually burnt down some of the rail yards. And in response to that, and also probably instigating some of it, the bosses sent in both their basically hired thugs or their hired police to come in and clear out the workers. That led to the Reading Railroad Massacre, where a group, I believe 8 workers were fired upon, or were killed when a group of them were fired on. Now, one of the interesting things is they actually called in the Pennsylvania State Militia to come and clear them out. Initially, they sent troops in from Allentown. It was the Allentown troops that had actually opened fire on the workers. They needed to bring in more troops. They brought them in from Conshohocken.
There you go.
But the troops from Conchi refused to follow the boss's orders, laid down their guns, and started drinking with all the Union men. And basically, the bosses had had sent a telegram over to the state militia general, basically telling him, like, you need to send your troops in and clear them out. And the reports he was getting back in from his officers were that the men were siding with the Union, and they're not going to stand and fight for us. And that basically let the rest of the strike in Reading kind of peter out there. But it's a kind of a rare moment where they sent in troops to clear everything out, and that turned out to not be the best decision for the bosses. So I'll let Sam take it away now.
I don't want to do that song anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, we can do a different one.
Yeah, that's good. Here's to the Conchi militia.
Yeah.
This song's kind of fun. Oh, in 1841, my corduroy breeches I put on. My corduroy breeches I put on to work upon the railway, the railway. I'm weary of the railway. Poor Paddy works on the railway. Well, in 1842, from Hartlepool, I moved to Crewe. Found myself a job to do, working on the railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging hitches. I was working on the railway. In 1843, broke me shovel across me knee. Went to work for the company, Lee Silly Railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging hitches. I was working on the railway. In 1844, landed on the Liverpool shore. My belly was empty, my hands were rough, and working on the railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging hitches. I was working on the railway. I forgot what year we were on for a second. In 1845, when Danny O'Connor was alive, working on the railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging hitches. I was working on the railway. That's the short version.
Yeah. It can go on.
I can go on.
What do we have next? I realized
I should leave that beat between us.
Oh, that works too. Oh, that's a good one.
You like Good Morning Blues?
What's that?
Good Morning Blues. Why don't you come up here?
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
All right. Hey.
You'll see him later, but we're bringing him up as a little taste. Is my good old friend Matt right here, my bandmate. From Paddy Preachers, Shaky DeVille.
Sam and I have our band, Pie-Eyed Preachers, and although we have some disagreements over beliefs and drinking methods.
Drinking methods? What does that mean?
Well, I like to drink a lot.
Oh.
And then
I'll tell you.
you're always telling me not to drink a lot. This is a song, this is an old song, Leadbelly, Huddy Ledbetter made popular. It's called Good Morning Blues. It's about waking up with the blues and what a working man has to do every day. Goddamn blues done beat up on my brain. Good morning, blues, 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 how do you do? I say good morning, blues, 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 how do you do? Well, I'm feeling alright. Blues, how about you? But a hard-working man that's feeling down. The blues ain't nothing but a hard-working man that's feeling down. But that's the worst damn feeling I've ever had. Good morning, blues, 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 how do you do?
Matt.
Thank you.
It's going to be a lot of switching up on stage all night.
No.
Preacher?
Preaching the sleep.
Okay. So, I think this is our first song that was written specifically for the labor movement. This is Preacher and the Slave. It's written by Joe Hill, whom we mentioned briefly. Basically, the industrial workers of the world, which is, I should say, they are very much still around, and a radical industrial labor union founded in 1905 in Chicago. They basically believe in organizing all workers together into one large union so that then workers can eventually rule the world. That sounds a lot more ominous than it's really meant to be. So Preacher and the Slave came out of the free speech fights up in the Pacific Northwest. They were trying to organize the lumber workers up there. And basically what kept on happening is they'd send organizers into the towns as all the workers were coming out of the lumber camps. And they would try and organize them basically just on the street corner. You'd set up a soapbox, you'd kind of proselytize to the masses there. And what kept on happening is all of the Wobblies got arrested. So first off, they saw that happen a couple of times, and then they figured, we got to do something about this. So they sent the call out all across the country. Every Wobbly organizer come up to the Northwest. And what they ended up doing is going into all of the towns and getting as many organizers in there as they could. And they would basically just line up in a row. One would stand up, start preaching the union message, he'd get arrested, next one would come up, he'd get arrested, next one would come up, he'd get arrested, and pretty soon, all the jails were full. And by the end of it, they realized it was going to be a lot more expensive to house and feed all these Wobbly organizers than it was to just let them organize. So Preacher and the Slave came out of this, where Joe Hill was up there working with the organizers up in the Northwest. And the other thing they kept running into was the Salvation Army, which would usually set up across the street from them. And their message to the workers was, you don't need to organize. You don't need to fight for your better wages today, because Jesus is going to save you. Yeah, so the Wobblies didn't take too kindly to that. And they wrote the song The Preacher and the Slave, both as a way to get more workers interested in it, in their message, and also just to mock the Salvation Army as much as they could. And realized I should probably call out the page numbers here, since we have this handy-dandy booklet. Page 4, yep, thank you.
In today's missal,
Yes.
page 2.
Please turn to page 4.
Is that it, page 4?
It is indeed page 4.
Well, the Salvation Army got the last laugh, so to speak, because when Joe Hill was set to be executed, Salvation Army was one of the foundations that actually wrote to the governor and the president, I think, for clemency when he was arrested for treason. There's a lot of that in the labor sphere. You a lot of arrested for treason.
Yes, and very quick trials in Utah in 1915.
So here's this song called Preacher and the Slave. They got words for this one, right?
Yeah.
We got it? All right, cool. The chorus starts with, you will eat by and by. You will eat by and by in the glorious land up in the sky. Work and pray, either one pray. You'll get pie in the sky when you die. Long-haired preachers come out every night, try to tell you what's wrong and what's right. But when asked for something to eat, they will answer with voices so sweet. You will eat by and by when the glorious land up in the sky. I'll get it. Work and pray, live on hay. You'll get pie in the sky when you die. And the Starvation Army, they pray, and they sing and they clap and they pray, till they get all your coin on the bum. And they'll tell you when you're on the bum, Holy rollers and jumpers come out, and they holler, they sing, and they shout. Give your money to Jesus, they say. He will cure all diseases today. You will lead by and by in the glorious land up in the sky. You can pray, live on high. You'll get by in the sky when you die. If you fight hard for children and your wife, try to get something good in this life. You're a sinner and a bad man, they'll tell. When you die, you surely go to hell. Working men of all countries unite. Side by side for freedom we'll fight. When the world and its wealth we have gained, to the grafters we'll sing this refrain. The last verse is different, isn't it? It is different. Hey, did you put it down?
I did not.
Oh, the last verse is a little different. All right. You will lead by and by when you've learned how to cook and to fry. Chop some wood till you're good, and you'll eat in the sweet by and by. Yes, you'll eat in the sweet. I'll take half the blame for that one.
Yeah, that's fair. There was some set list changes between production of these and walking on stage.
Yeah, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Factory Girl?
Factory Girl.
Cool. So we're gonna jump back in time again. So Factory Girl is a song that kind of laments the changeover from a more traditional agrarian lifestyle into modern industrialized capitalism, which happened in England at kind of the turn of the 19th century. In Philadelphia, they first tried to make it happen in the 1790s, really started to happen in about the 1820s. So Factory Girl kind of frames it from a young woman's perspective. She's not terribly happy with having to work in a horrible factory all day, but her solution to that is that she wants to marry the boss and get out of it that way, which is one solution to that problem. We'll talk about other solutions later. But one of my favorite stories from kind of the Philly labor world is actually some of the first industrial factories up in Manayunk, or where are we? Yeah, it would be that way. Down in Manayunk, yeah. There was a fellow by the name of John Nicholson who got it in his head that he was going to set up sort of like this English-style factory system up on the banks of the Schuylkill, or down on the banks of the Schuylkill. So he got a lot of funding, came up, set up, I think, a weaving mill, a stocking loom mill, which is making the like knee-high stocking socks that everyone was wearing at the time, a glass-blowing furnace, and an iron furnace. So he got funding for all of that. He got it up and running, ran into a lot of labor problems along the way, namely because he didn't realize that he had to pay people for work. So he faced a lot of strikes very early on, constant complaints about all of the...
You gonna tell him what they paid him
Oh,
with?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, that came later.
Okay.
Early on, all of the German engineers that he had brought over to help set everything up basically refused to work for him, and he kept finding them drinking because all of their wages were late. So once he cut the check, they would do about a week's work until the next check was supposed to be there, and they'd stop working. So once he got everything up and running, and he actually had a group of workers in all of these factories, he kept running into these problems that people kept wanting to get paid. So what he ended up doing was he would go down and basically they had set up a company store there. So he set it up that instead of getting paid in actual wages, you'd be paid in pocketbooks, as in like a small novel. And we know this because workers kept getting paid in multiple stacks of the same book. So this wasn't, because you could exchange your wages at the company store for anything in the store. So we initially, when researchers were looking at this, they were like, well, this is a very literate group of industrial workers. That's surprising. And then they kept noticing, he's getting the same 3 books every week. That's probably not right. And
It had the Oprah stick on it.
it did have the Oprah sticker on it. So I mean, the O Book Club, that's important. Yeah, so that didn't go over too well, and pretty soon he started facing the same labor troubles that he had initially. And I think by 1806 or so, the whole place shut down. But more importantly, or well, not necessarily good for the workers, but good for the bosses, that proved that you could run a mill on the Schuylkill, and that's where all of the mills in Manayunk came from. They built that the canal there, and then started charging mill owners, I think it was $1 by foot of water. So the amount of water space that your water wheel took up was how much you were charged annually. Also, just about every street name running towards the river in Manayunk is named for a different mill owner. So that's always fun to know that we're still living in the boss's world, even a little over 150 years later. But I'll let Sam take it away.
The song's called Factory Girl. He understands that spinner room boss. She looks so short and stout. I'm gonna marry this factory boy before this year goes out. And the chorus is this: pity me all day, pity me I pray, pity me my darling, and take me far away. I'll bid you factory girls farewell. Come see me if you can. I'm gonna quit this factory work and marry me a nice young man. Pity me all day, pity me I pray, pity me my darling, and take me far away. No more I hear that whistle blow, the sound of it I hate. No more I hear the bossman say, young girl, you are too late. Pity me all day, pity me I pray, pity me my darling, take me far away. More I hear that roaring over my head. When you poor girls are hard at work, I'll be home in my bed. Pity me all day, pity me I pray, pity me my darling, and take me far away. Pity me all day, pity me I pray, pity me my darling, and take me far away. Thank you guys. 9 That's a good,
Okay.
yeah.
So we're going to jump forward in history again. I don't think we ever found the original author of this one.
Nope.
Well,
It's not
I
a
know
problem.
it from Bobby McGee, so we'll attribute it to her. So this song starts similarly. So a woman very unhappy with the conditions of her labor, but she has a very different solution to it. So, and I don't think it has a repeated chorus. So we'll just
Oh, it does.
it does.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, okay.
We'll start with the chorus. It's a
Yeah,
fun
we'll start
one.
with the chorus. And,
We-
pay attention to her solutions here.
Start with the chorus. We type in 5, 9 to 5, and we barely stay alive. Working from day to day, her for typing for shorthand and speed writing, and they gave her the lowest pay. Typing file 9 to 5, you barely stay alive, working from day to day. Well, we've done a day's work in the offices of Boston, and it's time we got a day's pay. Well, Susan did the filing, and she kept the correspondence, and she answered the telephone. Though the boss may be a doubter, well, he couldn't do without her. He didn't know how to call a taxi on his own. Well, she asked for a promotion, and it sure caused a commotion, and he looked at her in disbelief. But the raise he given her just don't match that cost of living. Though the boss is still eating beef. Typing file 9 to 5, you better stay alive, working from day to day. Well, we've done a day's work in the offices of Boston, and it's time we got a day's pay. Together all the women in the office, and they started to organize. If they thought women wouldn't fight for basic workers' right, well, you're in for a big surprise. And you women of Boston, don't you think it's a scandal that we suffer while employers thrive? Women's work is never done, and fighting back has just begun.
No one do Too Old to Work?
I would do Too Old to Work. Too Old to Work.
Okay. I just want to talk about Maggie Kuhn.
My dad likes the song, so.
Oh, okay. So now we're gonna. I think this is from Utah Phillips. I don't know if it's an original. Yeah. The other fun thing with, folk music in general, but especially with labor music, a lot of these songs just kind of show up, and we're not necessarily sure where exactly they came from. One of the reasons why Joe Hill and a lot of the early wobbly singers are so important, or so noteworthy, is because we know they wrote those songs because they had to submit them to the IWW local for adoption in order to be printed by the local IWW printers. So we have a paper trail for that. If something just shows up on the strike line, we don't know who wrote it, but it gets recorded sometimes. But I think Too Old to Work was originally from Utah Phillips. And this one, I'm basically using it as an excuse to talk about the Grey Panthers. This is one of my favorite pieces of Philadelphia history. A woman by the name of Maggie Kuhn, who grew up outside of Philly, moved into Germantown, and lived in Germantown for most of her life, and actually commuted every day from the Upsall train station up to Penn Station up in New York City, which I really want to recreate that commute, because she specifically said she left at 7:15 and got in at 9:03 every day. And I want to see if you can still do that. Probably not. Yeah. You have to really time both SEPTA and Amtrak, and that's not easy. So Maggie Kuhn had a variety of different jobs, most of them around kind of social work and social advocacy. But in 1970, she founded I can't remember the name of the original organization. It was long and boring, and she was talking to a reporter one day who told her as much and said, I'm going to call it the Grey Panthers. And that was the name from then on. But it was basically an advocacy group for older workers. There were a lot of issues at the time where basically you were getting into forced retirement, and if you didn't have enough Social Security to fall back on, you were being forced out into poverty, or if you didn't have a pension. So what Maggie Kuhn did was organized both young and old folks, originally just in Philly, and then it quickly spread all around the country and still exists today. And they go and advocate for a variety of things, from anti-war movements to women's reproductive rights to continuing to fight for older worker rights. But she's just one of my favorite little pieces of Philly labor history, and she was also just a fireball in of herself. When she was working with the Young Women Christians of America in the 40s, she not only helped to kind of encourage integration within that, but basically went against the official doctrine of the organization and started teaching reproductive health, because she realized a lot of these young girls and younger women don't know it, so we just got to start teaching it. She got in a little bit of trouble for that, but she kept doing it and kind of kept that attitude her entire life. So with that in mind, we'll move into Too Old to Work. And I think this is in the book. It might not be, but it's an easy chorus. It's not, but it's an easy chorus.
It's easy. Start with the chorus. Too old to work, you're too old to work. You're too old to work and you're too young to die. Who will take care of you? How you'll get by when you're too old to work and you're too young to die. You work all in the factory all of your life. Try to provide for your kids and your wife. When you're too old to produce, they show you the door. They hand you the hat and they can't do no more. When you're too old to work, too old to work, too old to work and you're too young to die. Who will take care of you? How you get by when you're too old to work and you're too young to die. You don't ask for favors when your days are through. You got a right to what's coming for you. Your boss gets a pension when his days are through. You helped him retire, well, you're now nothing for you. When you're too old to work, too old to work, too old to work, and you're too young to die. Who will take care of you? How you get by? Too old to work, and you're too young to die. Horses to pasture and feed them on hay. Even machines get retired someday. Your boss gets a pension when he gets too old. That pension for him, now you're out in the cold. If you're too old to work, too old to work, too old to work, but you're too young to die. Who will take care of you? How you get by? You're too old to work and you're too young to die. There's no easy answer, there's no easy cure. Dreaming won't change it, that's one thing for sure. But fighting together, we'll get there someday. And when we have won, you will no longer say that you're too old to work, too old to work, too old to work and you're too young to die. Who will take care of you? How you get by when you're too old to work and you're too young to die. Too old to work and you're too young to die.
Also, sorry. Okay.
I don't know.
Well, thank you. I thought you were saying something. You'd think after a year of podcasting we'd be able to like get this rapport going, but it still doesn't. But I forgot to mention one of my favorite actions that Maggie Kuhn ever led. I think it was like 74 4 or so, one of the very early things that Grey Panthers did was they found out that a lot of the department stores, and specifically Macy's, had a mandatory retirement age for Santa Clauses, which on the face of it doesn't make a lick of sense. If there's one job that you should be able to do well into retirement, it's play Santa. But what she did, what the Grey Panthers did, I should say, is got a bunch of Santas and a lot of Mrs. Clauses to picket out front of all the department stores. And it was a great sight, and I encourage everyone to go look that up, because there are some great pictures of that. And now we're gonna move into the sick note.
Okay,
I think that's the next on the list. We can go somewhere else.
I never make set lists, Gabe. You should know
Clearly.
this about me. This is screwing me up having a set list.
Okay. Well, what do you want to do?
I want to do one of my songs, Gabe. Can I do
Okay.
one of my songs, please?
No.
Do you guys want to hear one of my songs? Mistake number 2. Mistake number 2.
Which one?
What? No more.
Oh, okay.
You don't have a little thingy for that?
I don't.
Oh.
You didn't give me any background on
He's
it.
not prepared. I see. Actually, I don't know the background to this really.
You wrote it.
I was walking through the gift shop of some aquarium for some reason, and this song came out of nowhere. Because everything has a gift shop.
That's fair.
So the line, "No more will I pay for the pleasures of the day" came to my mind, and then I wrote a whole other song around it. So
I'm going to attribute this to the fish.
to the fish. Here's to the gift shops. No more will I work for the thieves of life and dirt. A man was born to ask why, and not slave in a field till he dies. No more will I pay for the pleasures of the day. A man was born to breathe free, but to the highest bidder goes the sea. No more is the call, we're backed against the wall, beaten, deceived, and starved. There's a story in the scars. No more will I kill for the rulers to rule another hill. We must live and let live. To know peace is to forgive. And no more will I bow, for it's the people who push the plow, and they were born to unite. It's only then we'll know our might. It's only then we'll know our might. No more is the call, we're backed against the wall, beaten, deceived, and starved. Oh, there's a story in the scars. Thank you, guys. That was the first. I wrote that like a year ago. This is the first I'm actually sang it out to people. So thank you for that.
Well done.
Thank you. And next, we have Bevan come. Bevan.
I like it.
Bevan McShay, a friend of ours here. Wonderful songwriter, wonderful singer. A friend in the labor sphere. You want to sit?
You can adjust the mic.
Do whatever you want.
I mean, it's almost so short, it's must be sitting anyway.
You plug it? Bevan McShay. Everybody.
I don't think they did a song. You hear it out there? Check, hello. Much like Sam, this is the first time I've ever played this song live. It's a labor song, and it's because I wrote it within the last 3 days. Well, the blood of the worker has lifted us on high and raised from steel and concrete castles to the sky. And high above the rooftop there's a man who will deny. In his suit and tie he tries to trample on our rights. Trust no one, both parties will lie. Trust no one who isn't on our side. Trust no one who will not unite, except the union who is always right. There's lessons to be found in life, in both work and love. And quality will rise when work and love combine as one. And we have built this country up, and still they tear it down. But union will still be around when they're rotting in the ground. Trust no one, both parties will lie. Trust no one who will not organize. Trust no one who doesn't think we're right, except the union who's always on our side. Let this be an anthem, the workers' rally cry, in memory of union lies and people that have died, that we may live a better life, receive a decent wage. And if they do not wish to comply, let them feel our rage. Trust no one, both parties will lie. Trust no one who's too scared to fight. Trust no one who doesn't know we're right, except the union always, except the union always, except the union who's always on our side. Thank you. In the factory, power in the land, power in the hands of the worker. But it all counts for nothing if together we don't stand. There's power in the union. Now the lessons from our past we've learned from workers' blood, mistakes from the bosses that we paid for, from the cities to the farmlands, the trenches full of mud. War has always been the corporate way, sir. The union forever defending our rights. Down with the black leg, our workers unite with our brothers and our sisters in many far-off lands. There is power in the union. Now I long for the morning for them to realize brutality won't defeat us, but who'll defend the workers who cannot organize when the bosses and the lackeys out to cheat us? Money speaks for money, the devil is on. Who'll speak up for the skin and the bone, and comfort to the widow, the light to a child? There's power in the union.
Bevan, everybody. Thank you, sir. Bevan, what do you go by? Bevan Dayn or Cardinal Arms or?
So my middle name's Dayn.
Yeah.
So for something like this, I would probably go by that.
Bevan Dayn, everybody. But you can also see, he is a kick-ass artist. He teaches art in, where do you teach art, Bev?
Cedarbrook Middle School.
He taught Gabe here,
School art teacher.
Cedarbrook. And you can find his stuff also on City Linear as well, right? It's time. We're going to bring up another friend. Yes? Did you teach art to either one of us, Matt?
No, I didn't.
Oh, no.
To anybody.
Building up, yeah. You do that one. Now, as I said before,
It's actually kind of funny. Sam writes songs. I've been writing my whole life. We have we're in two bands together. Same two guys. We're just doing different types of music, right? We write about everything. You know, you write about work. You write about getting in a fist fight, drinking, eating, cruising in your car, heaven, hell. Right? You write about everything, right? But I was just telling his lovely wife Ashley, who's out there selling pints and CDs and all the stuff, you know, for tonight's show, that I am just not visually artistic at all. I've seen Bevan's work. Yeah, he'd do flyers for shows. He and then I've gone online and seen stuff. I just have. It's really cool to look at, and I'm amazed by stuff like that. But man, I couldn't draw a freaking hangman. Not if I tried. Not in a million years. So we're gonna do a song.
a song originally written by an Irishman by the name of Dominic Behan. You might recognize his brother, Brendan Behan, for songs like The Old Triangle he wrote. But Dominic wrote this next tune about Irish workers who would go over to England because there was no work in Ireland, and the hassles they would deal with over there. And it's a bit of a humorous song. It's the Irish sense of humor. And
Incorporate tragedy.
yeah, and it's originally the song was building up and tearing England down, but Matt over here has to Americanize everything.
That's right.
So it's just called Building Up and Tearing It Down.
Well, I have a very large off-the-boat family, and you know, the Irish, man, you want to talk about the railroads all over the world. Anywhere there in England that England had a hand in something, then you had poor-ass Catholic workers making next to no money, and they did it here in America just like they did in England, just like they did in Ireland, just like they did in Germany, just like they, they did it in a lot of places. So we just kind of mess with the words a little bit to make it an all-encompassing.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, it's called Building Up and Tearing It All Down.
All right.
Yeah.
Tell me, tell them all they're rough. Keep building up and tearing it all down.
Was found, built into the New York
my favorite string, too.
Doesn't all your workers go? Doesn't know that there is gold gonna be handed down to you by God. 'Cause the likes of you and me won't get a goddamn thing. Let's take it from the masters in charge. It's a concrete master race. Kick you in your face. Gang you in and keep you on the ground. If you
Ever try to take on what the bosses make? Keep building up, tearing it all down. Have you ever tried to take what the bosses make? Building up, tearing it all down. Tearing it all down.
Thank you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Honest to God, here were the strings that I was supposed to put on right before the show. I knew these were too old. What'd you say? Now it's.
It was funny, like right before we came over here, I said, Sam, you're probably gonna want to change that string you're gonna break later.
He said none of these words. He said none of these
So this next song is it's called Hot Asphalt. Basically along the same lines, about laying the roads through Germany and Ireland and England and Scotland.
Page 2 in the hymnal.
scrubbing now. I caught my death the cold. For scientific purposes, my body it was sold. In the Kelvin Grove Museum, me boys were hanging in the belt.
It doesn't last forever. Swim me high. Wandered up and down. Sure I never felt. The surface out is equal. Hot Asheville. It doesn't last forever. Swim me high. Wandered up and down the world. Sure I never felt. The surface out is equal. Hot Asheville. Thank you, thank you.
We're gonna do.
Whoop, that string doesn't exist anymore.
We're gonna do.
Why is this not doing it?
We're gonna do a song called "Dirty Old Town." You want to talk about "Dirty Old Town"? You want me to talk?
Dirty Old Town was written by an Englishman by the name of Ewan McCall. Wrote a lot of good songs, and he was in the same labor sphere as Pete. He married Pete Seeger's sister, I believe, his half sister, Peggy Seeger, and he also taught Luke Kelly, a man who when I started listening to Irish music. Is this Luke Kelly's birthday today? Oh, jeez. We might have to do a song for him. Well, Luke Kelly was a big influence on me. He was a man, a banjo player, singer, one of the greatest Irish singers of all time, and he was part of the Dubliners. Anyway, Ewan McCall wrote this next song about a town where he's from, Salford. And this song always struck a chord with me because it always reminded me of Manayunk, because that was like a mill town, factory town, and Manayunk of old. So, and it talks about the old canal and everything. So whenever I sing the song, I always think about Manayunk. So we're going to do Dirty Old Town. And you can sing along. You can sing the whole song. The chorus is only 3 words, repeated once. So why don't you just sing the whole song if you want to sing the whole song with us? After I tune.
I think you got to tune more. The more strings you break.
That's exactly it.
I don't break strings, so.
You just break hearts.
Dirty Old
I'm
Town.
missing that string, babe. That string was like the big toe of the strings, you know. Hold.
Well, most of the time, you know, when you do something like this, you got like guitar techs in the back, and they come running out.
taking it, going out.
Yeah, I fix it in like 3 seconds.
I only need 3 strings. I met my love on a gasworks floor. I dreamed a dream by the old canal. I kissed my girl on a factory wall. Dirty old town. Dirty old town.
Clouds are drifting across the road. Cats are crying on their knees. Screams a girl dreamed a dream of the old canal. Kiss my girl. Against a man, comes in all shapes and forms. Comes in dirty government form and dirty boss form and all sorts of forms. Man, you can't even make that stuff up. You can't make it up. People want power. Evil's evil. But the Irish have a brilliant way of dealing with these things. Songs. We'll fight anybody as long as we got enough drinks.
Matt. Nah, my banjo won't handle that song.
So I'm getting sent off because Sam's banjo broke.
That's not the 3-string banjo is not going to handle that instrumental we were going to do.
A hell of a fun time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to Matt, thanks to Bevan. And if Molly. Would you like to join us? Molly has an amazing voice, so we had to get her up there to sing a song.
Thanks. Hi, I was here earlier. Hello, it's Molly. So I hope you'll forgive me, or I should say this on mic. I hope you'll forgive me. I have to have lyrics to this pulled up because normally I am not the person in my band who sings the verses of this. So I don't. A little
bit of a history too.
I don't know them. Yeah, so this is actually a really. Oh, do you want to tell your history first? Yeah, go for it. So this is a song about the Radium girls, and Gabe Christy will give you more history on that, and then I'll say.
Yeah, so the Radium girls were young women that worked in mostly watch and clock dial factories in the late teens into the 1920s, mostly in New Jersey and Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. And so I think it's the American Radium Corporation, if I'm not mistaken, the name of that, discovered that radium, which is a very radioactive mineral, makes it self-luminescent, so it glows in the dark by itself, which makes it possible to read a clock dial at night. So they made radium paints and hired a bunch of young women to very carefully paint all of these clock dials. Now, according to the American Radium Corporation, radium is a perfectly safe product. It's safe for human contact on the skin. It's safe for human consumption. Even when powderized and in the air, if you breathe it in, it's perfectly fine. According to all of the women who died and got cancer from it, it's not very safe. So there were a number of deaths after this. They actually didn't get any lawsuits until 1938, which basically took the entire force of the kind of New Deal legal structure and all of the laws of the 1930s to actually get them the protections to, I think only 5 women were able to actually get a lawsuit or to get any victories from the lawsuit against the corporation. So on that cheery note, I'm going to pass it off to Molly to hopefully raise the spirits back up.
No, it's a bummer. This is a bummer. So just to add a few more details, if you haven't read the book Radium Girls, I will fully admit that I am mostly a fiction reader. I like my books to take me away to happier places. That said, Radium Girls is an incredible book that details the history of this. And in order to kind of get the gist of the song, it is kind of necessary to understand how deeply horrific the physical consequences of radium consumption were for these women. First of all, a side detail, the corporations absolutely knew that radium was unsafe, and this was proven actually in the lawsuits because several of their scientists, when they accidentally, first of all, their upper management and scientists had tons of protections on them when actually handling the radium, and additionally, when one of them got some, I believe, on his hand, he immediately cut his hand off. So just to give you an idea that they absolutely knew this was dangerous, and also the physical consequences of radium poisoning took a very long time and presented in a bunch of different symptoms. It manifested differently for different people depending on how the consumption hit their body. But essentially what radium does is it disintegrates your bones. So when you consume radium, you end up crumbling from the inside out, which is a horrifying thing. And additionally, these women were taught specifically because they had to work very quickly and they had to paint very, very carefully, very small watch dials. They were actually taught to twirl the radium paintbrushes through their teeth to pull it to a super fine point so that they could paint those dials very, very carefully and tidily. And this was taught to all of them. And so essentially what started happening was their bones started to crumble from within, especially starting with their teeth and their jaws. A lot of the time, one woman went to the dentist with recurring pain, and eventually her jaw just softly came off into the dentist's hand. Anyway, go read the book. It's great. This is a song called Radium. And specifically, this actually has two parts for you. The first one is just to give me a nice one of these little, you can do a stomp, or you can do a clap at your preference. And then throughout the song, I'll be going, ooh. So feel free to join in on that. Ooh. Crack in the wall and in my skin brought me down when I brought you in. Crack in the door and in my tooth,
You have stolen all my youth. Ooh. Well, there's a loaf of bread and a girl with no name, barely holding down $1 if it's all the same. So if the factory calls and the work is fine, you'll be holding out for safety in the promised line. Ooh. Well, you can take something simple, paint it pretty and white until the tiny little number's gonna glow at night. Let it pass your lips, it's the point you bite, but the foreman don't care if you're glowing inside. Ooh. Well, crack in the wall and in my skin brought me down when I brought you in. Crack in the door and in my tooth, you have stolen all my youth. Crack in the ceiling and in my jaw, got no health, no love, no law. Crack in the wall and deep within, there's a goddamn crack in everything. Ooh. Well, it ain't too pretty, you can't be brave with your body falling fast into an early grave. The worst is yet to come and it's the debt you fear, with every cry of restitution falling on deaf ears. Ooh. Now every story has to find itself at an end, but if it's never told, then how can you ever defend? Call it greed or lapse in judgment or failure of law, but you can't turn back the dial on a life gone wrong. Ooh. Crack in the wall and in my skin brought me down when I brought you in. Crack in the door and in my tooth, you have stolen all my youth. Crack in the ceiling and in my jaw, got no health, no love, no law. Crack in the floor and in my bones, cannot stand up on my own. Make you pay for I meet my maker, boss man, you're my undertaker. Ooh.
Thank you. That was written by myself and my bandmate Robert Prine. Delaney Prine. Sorry. His last name is new, that's why. But thank you all so much. And also,
Hey, Molly, all right.
can we just get another round of applause for Gabe Christy and young Sam James killing it here?
And if you'd like to know whether or not workers' protections have improved in this country, earlier this week, a worker at a Caterpillar plant fell into a 2,000-degree vat of molten steel and was incinerated because Caterpillar didn't want to pay to have a railing put in. So, and they were fined $150,000 for a multi-billion-dollar company.
I mean, you could work for Elon Musk.
It's true. And get fired.
That's an improvement, right?
Yeah.
Right? Paradise.
Oh, okay. Yeah, slightly cheerier.
Yeah, a slightly cheerier song about
History behind it
coal.
isn't cheery, but
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Gabe.
okay.
No, it's.
Oh yeah.
This is your cross to bear.
So this is a John Prine song, and kind of both romanticizes and mourns the loss of kind of the natural beauty of Western Kentucky. What happened a lot if anyone has spent any amount of time in coal country, either down farther south in the Appalachians or up farther north, like Wilkes-Barre or Scranton up in Pennsylvania. Basically what happened is big coal companies came in and quite often would literally buy the ground out from underneath of you. And then they had full rights to come and do whatever they wanted. So this song is basically about all of the actual natural beauty of the southwestern Appalachians getting basically strip mined and destroyed by coal companies. So, slightly cheery. But I guess on the scale of labor music, slightly more cheery than the last one, but that's a low bar. Because I'm finally finishing up the book. Stay tuned. From the Labor Jawn podcast, we'll be interviewing the author Mitch Troutman at some point in the near future. This is news for Sam, who wrote a great book, The Bootleg Coal Rebellion, which is about miners up in Appalachia and Pennsylvania who during the Great Depression in the 30s, or starting actually in about 1925 and then moving on into the 30s, as all the coal fields shut down, they needed work, so they just kept mining coal for themselves and selling it themselves, and basically took over a fair chunk of the market, all somewhat illegally. The Pennsylvania government wasn't really willing to enforce the law around it, so they got away with it for about 15 or 20 years. So
We're still doing the podcast? I thought this was it.
no,
I thought this was the blow off.
I mean, it's been
They
a
have to
year. We might as well quit while we're ahead.
I'm going to sing John Prine's Paradise. We'll dedicate to John Prine, who passed away during COVID. It was probably like the worst celebrity death that was, the saddest one for me at least, because he was a hell of a songwriter.
Page 5.
I'm doing a eulogy here. Jesus Christ. Well, here's Paradise. When I was a child, my family would travel back to western Kentucky, where the parents were born, to the backwood old town that's often remembered so many times that my memories are worn. Here's the chorus. Now, Daddy, won't you take me down Newburgh County, round by the Green River, where paradise lays? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train's hearted away. Sometimes we'll travel right down the Green River to abandoned old prison by Adrian's Hill, where the elk smell like snakes. We shoot with our pistols, but empty pop bottles is all we would kill. Now, Daddy, won't you take me down Newburgh County, down by the Green River, where paradise lays? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train's hearted away. Came with the world's largest shovel. They tortured the timber, stripped all the land. They dug for the coal till the land was forsaken. They chalked it all up to the progress of man. And Daddy, won't you take me down Newburgh County, round by the Green River, where paradise lays? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. His coal train is hearted away. Now when I die, I let my ashes float down the Green River. Let my soul roll on up to the Rochester Dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with paradise waiting, just 5 miles away from wherever I am. Daddy, won't you take me down Newburgh County, down by the Green River, where paradise lays? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train is hearted away. You're starting something? Oh, you waiting for me? Okay. We'll do this Father's Grave. We're moving Father's Grave.
Oh, right.
You don't have anything. Do you have something?
I mean, well, not that song specifically, but I got a story for it.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so this is Moving Father's Grave. It's a song about kind of similar to Paradise.
A bit,
Kind of like your memories from youth getting destroyed by progress. But specifically with grave moving, there's a fun little story from Philadelphia. The abutments for the Betsy Ross Bridge are, well, at least partially made up of gravestones from the Monument Cemetery up in North Philly, which got bulldozed so that Temple could build some new buildings up there, because of course. And so should also be noted that Monument Cemetery was mostly a poor and working class black cemetery, so it was also just kind of in the way for Temple that likes to expand into all sorts of different areas. And supposedly, family members were contacted and asked if they wanted the graves to be, or the gravestones to be saved or moved or anything, but that doesn't seem to have happened very much, because they had a whole bunch of gravestones that they needed to get rid of quickly, and it was while they were building the Betsy Ross Bridge. So they made some connections and started loading trucks up and dumped them all right into the Delaware River as abutments. So if there's ever an accident on the Betsy Ross Bridge, it's because it's very, very haunted, with some very angry people, and justifiably so.
So here's an honestly cheery song called They're Moving Father's Grave to Build a Sewer. Oh, they're moving Father's grave to build a sewer. They're moving him regardless of expense. They dug up his remains to put in 5-inch drains to irrigate a rich man's residence. Now what's the use of having a religion if when you're dead the troubles never cease? For some posh city chap wants a pipeline to his ass, they'll never let a British workman rest in peace. Now in lifetime, Father never was a quitter, and I'm sure he won't be a quitter now. For when that job's complete, he'll haunt that toilet seat and only let them go when he'll allow. Now won't there be some horrible constipation? And won't those city chappies rant and rave, which is more than they deserve for having the goddamn nerve to fuck around with a British workman's grave? Woo! Barnyards of Delgaty.
Okay.
We got a couple more for you here.
Yeah. Bothies, because I like bothies.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
Okay. So the next one is a bothy ballad, which is one of my favorite words in the English language. Well, Scots, technically, it's not English. But a bothy, Scots, that's the name of the language. Okay.
All right.
Don't quote me on that.
You got
I say into the microphone recording me.
I won't hold your Scots.
So a bothy is basically either a stone or mud hut, or a earthen hut, and itinerant laborers up in Scotland would move from bothy to bothy as they were moving from field to field. So you'd spend a day working in the field for some landowner, then you'd spend your nights in the bothies, and they were basically just kind of communal homes. And when you have a bunch of workers together, usually drinking fairly heavily, they start singing. And that's where bothy ballads came from, or bothy ballads. And these were all of the songs that just kind of naturally showed up from the bothies, and then later got recorded by Childs, I believe. Frances J. Childs, who did an ethnography of Scotland. Probably, she may have sung a bothy ballad. I don't know. And that's my story on bothies. I just like bothies. Oh yeah. I'm just gonna say bothy again because I like it.
Say it one more time.
Bothy.
There you go. The song's called Barnyards of Delgaty. And the chorus is kind of like, it's Scottish, so it's gibberish, guys. Let's be serious. He goes, tour, tour-a-lure-a-lure-a-laddie, tour-a-lure-a-lure-a-lee, tour-a-lure-a-lure-a-lure in the barnyard to a market for the fee. I went up to this big old farm called the Barnyards of Delgaty. In the laddie toodle-laddie, in the laddie hoorally, in the lord, in the Barnyards of Delgaty. Well, he promised me the finest horse I ever set my eyes upon, but when I got to the barnyard, there was nothing there but skin and bone. In the laddie toodle-laddie, in the laddie toodle-lee, in the lord, in the Barnyards of Delgaty. Well, as I go to church on Sunday, Minnie's a pretty girl I see sitting by her father's side, winking over the pews at me. In the laddie toodle-laddie, in the laddie toodle-lee, in the lord, in the Barnyards of Delgaty. And I can drink and never get drunk, I can fight and never be slain, I can lay with another man's lass and still be welcome back today. In the laddie toodle-laddie, in the laddie toodle-lee, in the lord, in the Barnyards of Delgaty. Now my candle is burnt out, snotter's fairly on the wane. Fare thee well, your barnyards, you'll never catch me here again. In the laddie toodle-laddie, in the laddie toodle-lee, in the lord, in the Barnyards of Delgaty. In the laddie toodle-laddie, in the laddie toodle-lee, of the Barnyards of Delgaty.
Hey, Mayor! Come on!
Bothy.
I've said it enough. What are you thinking?
Let's tip some waitresses.
I agree. You should take your waitress. Or waiters. And
10. Got like 3 more songs for you people.
And I think this song is fairly self-explanatory, so I don't think I should
I like
need
the-
to explain it.
Is my mom here still? She leave. Hey, Ma!
Hey.
I like to dedicate this to my mom. Oh, that's adorable.
Make sure to tip your waitress.
Yeah, save a spot for me back there, yes? And I'd like to dedicate this to my mom. The song's called Tip Your Waitress. 16 tables, 4 chairs at each one. 2 shows every night, she's on the run. 3 coffees here, 5 desserts there, let's go. And some jerk over there says that she's too slow. So tip your waitress, she's working hard for you. She'll walk a few more miles before she's through. She's got bills to pay and food to buy like you. So tip your waitress, she's working hard for you. Well, it's honey this and dear that all the time, but it's not as half as bad as all them lines. One of these days, her temper's gonna perk when one more guy asks when she gets off work. So tip your waitress, she's working hard for you. She'll walk a few more miles before she's through. She's got food to buy and drink like you. Tip your waitress, she's working hard for you. Well, her paycheck's low, she does the work up too. When something's wrong, folks blame you know who. And they'll say, hey darling, where's your smile? And the owner's getting richer all the while. So tip your waitress, she's working hard for you. She'll walk a few more miles before she's through. She's got food to buy and bills to pay like you. So tip your waitress, she's working hard for you. She's tip your waitress, she's working hard for you. Hey.
Well, I realized I missed the obvious connection that was right in front of me. Well, I don't know about any specific restaurant workers organizing in Philadelphia. Yesterday was the Red Cup Rebellion, where over 110 Starbucks stores organized with Starbucks Workers United went on a one-day strike. I think 4 stores in Philly did. Yeah, so tip your baristas too.
We got like one or two more songs here for you. We're gonna end it in an old labor sphere style. Molly, you free to come back up here? We need your voice. We need to end this professionally, so we need you up here.
We're supposed to be professional?
That's what she's here for.
Oh, okay. Cool. Oh, also, as one of Molly's newest students, I can say she's a fantastic singing teacher. So everybody sign up.
So we're gonna do. You have anything for Solidarity Forever? You got a little.
Of course I have
All right.
stuff. Okay. So, Solidarity Forever.
Dumb question. What a dumb question would be to ask. You have something for anything.
So Solidarity Forever is probably one of the best known American labor songs. It was written by a fellow named Ralph Chaplin, who was an organizer with the IWW, agitator and organizer for the Socialist Party, and he was torn through, I think it's can't remember which creek it was. It was one of the coal strikes down in West Virginia. And after seeing a armored train go through and basically just spray machine gun fire into the coal camps, which were basically tent villages that the workers were forced to live in because they had all been evicted by their homes, or from their homes, which were owned by the coal companies. Ralph Chaplin saw that everyone was still sticking together, still showing solidarity, still keeping out, or staying out on strike. And so in that spirit, he wrote Solidarity Forever, and then that became basically the labor anthem for the American labor movement from then on.
Good?
Yeah?
This one's only got 2 words in the chorus. You have no excuse to not sing along.
We'll start with the chorus. Make that a little easier, right? Yeah. Are we at page 5? To the workers' blood shall run. There can be no power greater than what beneath the sun. Yet what force on earth is weaker than the people strike as one. The union makes us strong. So not a single wheel can turn. We can break their haughty power, gain our freedom when we learn that the union makes us strong.
To birth a new world from the ashes of the old, for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong.
Thank you all. We got one more song here. Another sweet little sing-along song. A song that actually came out of, you got anything for We Shall Not Be Moved?
Oh, yeah.
I know, he's always got some. I can always rely on this guy.
So,
Well, before we do the song, I want to say thank you from the deepest part of my heart for everybody who came out here. Thank you so much.
yeah.
This week is our 1-year anniversary of doing the podcast, so this is real special to us. This is by chance, and we never thought we'd get here. We thought we were just two guys drinking in a basement talking about local labor history, and playing some songs and having fun. But this is a great turnout. Thank you to every single one of you guys that come out. I hope you're still listening because we got a lot of cool stuff down the pike. So,
All of this literally started because Sam and I were very drunk and said we should do a labor history podcast. And then about like a month and a half later, we actually recorded something.
Mistake number 3.
Yeah.
And I want to thank also my partner in crime, Gabe Christy. He does all the researching. This man is. If it was just me, it wouldn't be anything.
I always like to say we're both educational and entertaining. If it wasn't for Sam, we wouldn't be very entertaining. So I'd like to thank him.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
And also my lovely neighbors and good friends, Alex and Molly, who are helping us facilitate all of this tonight and doing the hard work.
Alex or Soundman? Soundman. I can't talk tonight. Soundman. This is right.
You have the hardest job in the house.
I can break another string on the banjo if you want. It's not exciting enough for you? Yeah, right? That's how I feel. All right, so, okay, do your thing, bud.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, We Shall Not Be Moved started as a spiritual among enslaved workers in the South. I believe it first started showing up in the 1830s and 40s. And since then has kind of blossomed out into a variety of different movements. The version we'll be singing, I believe, started showing up in the labor movement in the 1920s and 30s. But it's a mainstay on picket lines, protests, just about anything, anywhere. Shows up in a variety of different languages. There was a Czech version during some of their anti-Soviet protests in the 1980s, which listening to songs translated from English to a Slavic language is always really interesting. But the version we're singing, I think, is Pete Seeger's from the 30s. And this also, the bringing of kind of Southern black spirituals into a more of a labor context is something that that happened and really picked up a lot in the 20s and 30s as the labor movement got honestly less racist and realized, hey, we should start organizing with black people too. And imagine that. So you started to see a lot of black folk art and music move into the labor, or kind of mesh with the labor movement. And that's really where this song came from. Also page 5.
You're so lucky this is the last song, Gabe. It's a sweet little song. We Shall Not Be Moved. You all want to sing? You all want to sing?
Woo!
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We're young and old together. We shall not be moved. Young and old together, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water, we shall not be moved. We're women and men together, we shall not be moved. Women and men together, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water, we shall not be moved. The city and the country, we shall not be moved. City and the country, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water, we together. We shall not be moved. We're all in this together. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Now we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Thanks, guys. Get home safe. Thank you, guys.
Well, now we gotta move. Now we gotta move.